there have been some notable free agent signings this offseason that I did want to touch on, because there are four teams that I want to highlight right now that, again, made a lot of really significant moves. They probably won't get as much attention as some of these other teams. Some of them might. But there are four teams that I really want to highlight that I think have had really productive off seasons so far, that I really think have done a marvelous job of surrounding their teams with more talent, really going out and improving their teams. So, first team is the Miami Heat. You sign Kyle Lowry and you sign PJ Tucker. They re-signed Duncan Robinson, obviously extended Jimmy Butler. But what I like about this is twofold. First of all, you've got two dogs, and obviously we know from PJ Tucker that he thought that the Milwaukee Bucks already had dogs and that they just needed someone to tell them that they're dogs. And that's what PJ Tucker did. But you kind of weaken the Milwaukee Bucks by being able to pry him away from them. You bring him to Miami. You sign Kyle Lowry, who obviously will demand a lot of respect, and he'll earn the respect of Jimmy Butler and that entire team. Eric Spoelstra, he's a perfect fit with the Miami Heat. You've got a potential starting five of Bam Adebayo, PJ Tucker, Duncan Robinson, who can shoot the lights out, Jimmy Butler, and Kyle Lowry. That's a pretty solid starting five. Then you got Tyler Hero coming off the bench. And Precious Ochua, I still like. I think he's got some potential. The second-year player from Nigeria who was playing for the Nigerian national team. But the thing is, with the Miami Heat, to me, it all comes down to Tyler Hero off the bench. Because if he plays like he did his rookie year, and again, I don't want to go as far as to say he had a sophomore slump, because he still averaged 15 points per game in the regular season. In the playoffs, those numbers dipped to 9 points per game this year as opposed to 16 points per game last year. But if he can kind of bounce back and find his rookie year form, well, then the Miami Heat, they are legitimate challengers, not to maybe win the entire NBA championship, but to challenge some of the top teams in the Eastern Conference. Not to mention, they still have Victor Oladipo, who obviously ruptured his quad last year, but he's expected to make a full recovery, be back by November. So again, another interesting asset that maybe they can either keep or convert into someone else. So I think that with these moves, they've elevated themselves to a top 3 team in the Eastern Conference. I still would have them behind the Brooklyn Nets and the Milwaukee Bucks, but I think that what we saw from the Philadelphia 76ers last year, with the liability that can sometimes be Ben Simmons, that can be a huge inhibitor to their potential and impediment to their success, I think the Miami Heat could be right there at number 3, maybe tied with the 76ers, but I think that they're kind of level right now. So that's first team. Second team, the Brooklyn Nets, no one's going to talk about them because they already had such a great compilation of talent and players, but I think that not only did they sign Blake Griffin, they re-signed Blake Griffin, who preserves some size for them, because they obviously lost Jeff Green, who, it's amazing to me that he's listed as a forward/center. Jeff Green, who's like 6'8", based on the role that he played with the Brooklyn Nets last year. So I think that it was smart to retain Blake Griffin. I love the signing of Patty Mills. The fact that you got him on the cheap, 2 years, $12 million. He's a floor spacer. He's a leader. He's unselfish. He shot the ball 37.5% from the three-point line over the course of 12 seasons in the NBA. He's a career 39% three-point shooter, averaged 11 points per game last year under Greg Popovich. So he's a disciplined player. He's an unselfish player. He spaces the floor. He can be that sixth man and instant offense to back up Kyrie Irving off the bench. I really liked him. And again, I do think the one player that they need to look at moving, or at least try and find an upgrade, is at the center position with DeAndre Jordan. He was really inconsequential last year. Really didn't play much. They need one big. They need some type of big. They really don't have anyone. In addition to that, the Chicago Bulls. Listen, I'm not saying that this is going to be a team that will win an NBA title, But if you look at their activity and the offseason moves that they've made, they've been the most active team this offseason outside of the Lakers. Again, this is a team that finished 31-41 last year, 11th in the Eastern Conference. They just missed the play-in tournament. You sign Lonzo Ball, who's one of my favorite players. I absolutely love Lonzo Ball. I think he'll flourish. He's really started to come into his own now. You sign Alex Caruso, who's instant energy, great defender, 40% three-point shooter, and he's going to give you his effort every single night. Every single night, he will give you everything he has. Chicago is going to absolutely embrace him. And then listen, you still sign for DeMar DeRozan, which is an upgrade because now you pair all three of those guys with Zach LaVine, with Nikola Vucevic, who you traded for at the end of last year, that actually made a big difference for the Chicago Bulls. The reason why the Bulls, I think, missed the play-in tournament is because Zach LaVine, due to COVID health and safety protocols, had to miss about 2 weeks during a critical stretch of their season towards the end of the year. So you still have Zach LaVine, as I mentioned, Nikola Vucevic, Lauri Markkanen, who I still like, still very productive, Kobe White. So they've got some guys, and again, all they needed was some seasoned, proven players that can help elevate them, that can help them ascend. And so I think that this upcoming year, this is a playoff team. At the very least, a team that's going to make the play-in tournament. I like what they've done, and I like some of the pieces that they've added. Again, they just needed more talent to legitimize their operations there. So that's at number 3. And finally, the fourth team that made some headlines predominantly because of this morning was the New York Knicks. It was just announced this morning that Kemba Walker signed with them. And under any other circumstance, he obviously agreed to a buyout with OKC. Under any other circumstance, I would say that at this point in Kemba Walker's career, there's no point in trading away all these assets to bring him in. But the reality is, the Knicks didn't have to give up anything to acquire Kemba Walker. They still get to retain R.J. Barrett, Emmanuel Quickley, Julius Randle. They re-signed Derrick Rose. And this is a harmonious match because Madison Square Garden is the venue that made Kemba Walker. We remember Kemba Walker because of that moment in the Big East tournament in 2011 when he upset Pittsburgh. It was the cardiac Kemba moment, and that propelled UConn to winning the NCAA championship in 2011. His biggest moment of perhaps his basketball career transpired at Madison Square Garden. And so I think he'll feel comfortable. He'll feel at home playing in the Garden. And again, you didn't have to give up anything to acquire him. You re-signed Derrick Rose. And listen, you can argue whether or not you overpaid for Evan Fournier, but the bottom line is this. If this Evan Fournier that we're seeing in the Olympics is what the Knicks are going to get, again, is it going to elevate them to a championship? No, but it might further legitimize their standing as an NBA playoff team. And again, it doesn't compromise anything you're doing long-term for future players, future stars. You bring in Kemba. You don't have to trade away any assets. To me, I think it's a nice move. Personally, I think personally it's a nice move.